Friday. Hello, Friday. It's Friday, the first Friday of the month of March. Month of March, time change, March madness, all kinds of crazy things coming upon us. That's awesome. Anyway, don't forget to do your warm up. Take a couple deep, mindful breaths. Write down one piece of gratitude using a physical pen or paper. And also, don't forget to take whatever was in your mind, put it aside for these next 30 minutes. And we're going to focus on this, and we're going to focus on improving our mindset, developing a winning mindset, and really overcoming whether it's the drama monster or stinking thinking or whatever's stress has creeped in. Today we're going to talk about triggers and rewards. And the little tease I sent out is actually the top three triggers for our brains, and the top three rewards happen to be the exact same things. So understanding what they are and how to maybe navigate around them and when they're coming to get you, that will help you be able to combat them, motivate yourself, and also look to see them in others and point out in others and understand how they may affect others and how you can motivate and inspire others because you understand these things. Now, what's a trigger? A trigger is something that, because of the brain maps we have, makes us lash out, gets us angry, makes us feel lonely, makes us feel sad, makes us feel depressed, makes us feel anxious. All of those negative emotions that are related to negative triggers. There are positive triggers too, but these are the negative ones that we're talking about. These negative triggers, whether it's feeling the pressure or feeling sad or lonely, they release cortisol, and that creates stress. And stress is not a good thing. We're here to fight stress and develop a winning, positive, productive mindset. On the other hand, rewards is the dopamine or the serotonin, the positive brain chemicals that kick in, that give us pleasure, that give us joy, that send us feelings of love, that send us happiness, that make us smile. All of those wonderful things. All of those wonderful things that really create those rewards in our brain. Now we know, if you've been in one of these sessions before, that the brain maps that we have, the default mechanism for our brain maps, is bad is stronger than good. So we really need to understand what these triggers are and how to fight the bad in order to prosper the good and to promote the good. Because we do tend, as we say, to blow things out of proportion. Stress is a really harmful thing. Stress-related illnesses are one of the top killers in the US. And I just read a recent study that showed that actually, talk about mental wellness, mental health in the workplace. Only 4 out of 10 people even thought that their supervisor did a good job or was even open to discussing stressful situations at work. So almost 6 out of 10 people felt that their supervisor didn't even want to help them or understand or be open to discuss the stressful situations at work. And that's a really terrible thing, because stress causes lack of productivity, stress causes lack of collaboration, lack of creativity, and all of those negative things. So these triggers and rewards that we're going to get into are not only going to help you, they're going to also help others around you. If you're in the opportunity to lead or inspire others or work in a group, that's the things you can use as powerful motivators. I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to talk about the first one of these. The first one of these triggers and rewards is respect. Yes, Respect. When our brains feel respected, we're more collaborative, we're more creative, we listen better, we learn better. You know, they looked at our brain maps through brain imaging studies, and they actually found that when a person feels respected at work, they light their brain maps and powerful brain chemicals light up 8 times more powerful than getting a raise. Yeah. The simple act of being respected, being recognized, being told you did a really good job has an 8 times more powerful positive reaction than a monetary reward. And people who feel respected at work are more likely to stay at a workplace and not look to leave and change jobs. Companies who have a high respect culture are have a 2 time the retention level of companies that don't. On the other hand, when we feel disrespected, that's a terrible thing. That's a terrible thing. Our brains go into survival mode. We go into fight or flight. We go into what I refer to as the victim perpetrator dilemma. So even if you don't fight or flight in the moment, you're stuck in that victim perpetrator dilemma and you're going to be trapped in there unless you find a way out. We'll talk about that victim perpetrator dilemma in a future Neuro-Fitness Friday session. But today, let's focus on these triggers and rewards. You know, many of us have low self esteem. So we need the validation of others to feel good. Sadly, that's true. And so when we don't get that validation, our lack of respect and our survival mode kicks in. When somebody doesn't recognize us for the hard work we put in, or somebody doesn't recognize us for um, a good effort, we feel disrespected. And that's just not right. You know, respect or disrespect can be really significant, like a job loss. And it can be less significant, like maybe your boss corrects you in a meeting in front of others, or maybe you get passed over for a promotion, or you don't get picked to be in a group uh, that's selected to investigate a new opportunity. It could be that people invade your space, especially during COVID. They get too close. That feels like a lack of respect. Could be that somebody cuts you off in traffic. You feel disrespected. All of those things, from the significant to the less significant, add to our disrespect. So, what can you do about it? What can you do about that for yourself and for others? Well, for yourself, we'll fall back on the number one thing you can do is don't take anything personally. Nobody does things because of you or to hurt you. Don't take anything personally, number one. Number two, ask yourself the question, are my negative emotions right now helping me? Are my negative emotions right now helping me? Chances are your survival maps and your limbic system and your emotional brain is taken over, creating lots of negative feelings, whether it's stinking thinking or the drama monster. Ask yourself, are these negative emotions helping me? Chances are they're not. And you're quote unquote blowing things out of proportion. Third thing you want to do is you want to lean back and reaffirm your strengths. Understand what you're good at. Understand that you are a good person and that you do have strengths and you can contribute. So if you didn't get picked for this particular promotion or this particular job, learn from it. Ask yourself, what can I learn? How can I grow? And how can I apply my strengths even stronger next time? Because I have these strengths, I have these qualities. This They may not have been right for this opportunity, but they will be right for something in the future. So that's the third one. Reaffirm your strengths. And number 4, commit to an act of kindness. Commit to an act of kindness to others. By feeling disrespected, sometimes just the notion of being kind to others in the smallest of way will erase and eliminate that disrespect and elevate your self-esteem. Let's say, go back to the traffic example. Somebody cuts you off in traffic and you're going to get really angry and you're going to get really mad and you're going to go, I've been waiting at this stop sign for longer than other people. Maybe the next time you let somebody else pass, or you let somebody in a crosswalk stop and walk in front of you. Find a way to just do a simple act of kindness that will elevate your self-esteem and minimize your loss of respect. Now, how can we recognize this in others? Well, we talk about getting selected for a team or getting selected for a promotion. If you know as a supervisor that you're not going to select an individual for a team or an individual for a promotion, and you recognize they'll probably feel disrespected because of it, reach out, talk to them in advance, explain to them the rationale for the decisions, make them feel like you respected them enough to have a conversation with them. You respected them enough to have a conversation with them and not just they heard it through the grapevine. We talked about space. Don't invade my space. Give people lots of space. Don't get too close to them. Don't crowd them. Make sure you watch your body language and your tone. Your body language and your tone of voice often communicate a huge either lack of respect or respect. When you meet somebody or talking to them, are you looking them in the eye? Are you showing up? Are you showing up with generosity and kindness? Those all add to the fact that other people can recognize they're feeling respected. Here's another one. Call them by their name. Call them by their name and introduce yourself by your name. You know, they did a study that showed that wait staff in a restaurant who came up to a table and introduced themselves by their name got significantly more gratuities than those that didn't. I once was in a situation where I entered a crowded restaurant looking for a hamburger one day when I was on a business trip, and I was attracted to this restaurant because it was like Big Albert's Bar and Grill. And I walked in there to just sit and have a hamburger and a cold beer while watching a basketball game. And I noticed the place was packed. I went up to the woman at the desk and I said, I just wanted to get a seat and watch the game and have a hamburger. How long is the wait? Oh, seems like you got it pretty crowded here. And she looked down at her sheet and I said, my name's Al, and I know the owner of this place must be named Al as well. So anything you could do for me, that would be great. And she smiled and laughed and we made a joke. And she said, just a minute, I'll come right back to you. And within 5 minutes, I had a seat. So showing her a little bit of kindness, a little bit of respect, was able to possibly get me a seat much quicker than I would have otherwise. Ask questions of the other person. Be inquisitive. Be curious. Make the conversation about them, not about you. How often do you get in a conversation with somebody, whether it's a friend or a loved one, and you're halfway into the conversation and all you really are talking about is how things are going for your day, and you haven't yet asked the question, but how is your day going? Tell me about what's going on with you. Think about that. How can you make the conversation more about them than about you? All right, let's move on to number 2, connection. Social connection. Social connection is a basic human need. A basic human need. Our brains developed while collaborating with other brains, searching for food, searching for shelter, all of those things. We collaborated with other brains, trying to survive. It's a basic human need. Our brains are wired to be social. If you've seen somebody yawn, you're going to feel, because of the social connectivity and social networks of your brain, you're going to feel like yawning too. And if you see somebody smile, you may just feel like smiling right back at them. That's the social part of our brain. They did a study, and they played a video game where people were participating, and a ball was thrown around a screen, and then all of a sudden the person started not getting the ball passed to them. And the brain imaging was recognizing their feelings while this was happening. They were being excluded from the game. The ball was bouncing around with the other participants, but they weren't getting a chance to play this video game. And you know what they found? They found that social pain, as the researchers call it, the pain of being excluded from a group, was as severe in the brain as physical pain, the pain of a broken arm. Social pain was as strong as physical pain. You know, the feelings of rejection and abandonment are powerful negative emotions. They are really strong, and they can lead to self-destructive behaviors. But even a simple loss of connection can affect our negative triggers. The loss that we felt in personal connections during COVID, and the ability to see people as frequently and often and personally as we used to, that affects us. And that we need to recognize that in ourselves and others and manage for it proactively, positively. But even beyond COVID, we get that trigger if somebody doesn't return a call, or somebody doesn't return a text, or our social post doesn't get as many likes as we wanted, or we lose some followers on our Instagram account, Facebook, all of those things. Like, we are feeling a loss of connection. And many times, as those last couple of examples show, the loss of connectivity or connections often is intertwined with respect. So it has a kind of a multiplier trigger effect. So what can we do about it? What can we do about it? Well, for ourselves, the number one thing we could do is go back to that tried and true brain lifter. Label your emotion. When you feel a loss of connection, you're going to have severe, significant negative emotions taken over, and the limbic system's taken over, your emotional brain's taken over. Label your emotion and increase your cognitive thinking. Ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? Am I feeling sad? Am I feeling lonely? Am I feeling rejected? Am I feeling separated? How am I feeling right now? And process that thought. Think about it. Think about that. Let it sit for a minute and just think about how you're feeling. And then tell yourself, well, that's a momentary feeling, and here's how we're going to deal with it. And then lean into the other positive ways that you can lean into and adjust and uplift your thinking. Recognizing the connection in others is equally important. Reach out to others. If you haven't talked to somebody in a while, or you just recognize that maybe they haven't been somebody you've really talked to in a while, reach out to them. Make a connection, even if it's a simple text or call or email, or, hey, I was just thinking about you. I was just thinking about you, and let you know that I care and was hoping you're okay. Reach out to others. Be observant. Notice if somebody is feeling is disengaged or maybe a little uneasy or separated. Recognize that. Go up to them and say, hey, I just wanted to, see, what are you feeling right now? Is everything all right? Just I'm thinking about you, and I'm just hoping that everything's good. If you're forming a team and you're not going to include a few people, have that advanced conversation with them. Recognize that they may be affected by not being selected on this team. Have that advanced conversation with them. It's going to be really important. So, because you're going to get that expected response. Okay, let's move on to number 3. Then the third trigger and reward, I call direct or lack of clarity. See, uncertainty, when things aren't clear, when the path forward's not clear, when it's not like, okay, this is going to happen and this is going to happen and this is going to happen. When there's a lot of uncertainty, especially like there's been during the whole COVID thing, when there's a lot of uncertainty, our brains make up more stories and they make more room for the drama monster, right? So when there's more uncertainty, there's lack of information, there's more stories. The lack of clarity really drives up triggers and stress. People start worrying about the future, start worrying about what might happen next, start worrying about, they get on that escalator of drama and worry, right? And they never usually think, oh, things will be okay, things will be great. No, it just becomes like we shared the story, like it's going to go from maybe the boss was having a bad day to now we're having layoffs. Right? It is not going to experience that level of uncertainty if you have the ability as a supervisor to share and communicate as often as possible. Communicate as clearly and as often as possible. Even if you can't tell somebody, your group, something, even if you can't tell them something because A, it's confidential, or B, it's uncertain and you don't even know, tell them that. And also tell them, give them a schedule of when you're going to be able to frequently communicate with them. You could say, here's this program we're going to be on. We're going to take these steps, and I'm going to update you every Monday morning on the progress and the next steps for the week. That level of certainty in terms of understanding when something will happen and when the next communication loop will be a powerful motivator to others. As for yourself, the number one thing you can do when there's lots of uncertainty is just fall back on the thing that says, I'm only going to control what I can control. I'm going to focus on the immediate. I'm going to focus on today. I'm not going to fret or worry about the future. I'm going to focus on today and control what I can control. So there you have it. There you have it. I'd like you to think about respect, connect, and direct. And ask yourself, which situations, big or small, which situations are the ones that most affect you, either most frequently or most significantly? And contribute them to the chat box. It may spark an idea in others, and share some of your thoughts and feelings, and let's discuss it. Any questions? Please put them in here. We're open to this. Hopefully, this has been a helpful session for everybody, and that we can now look forward to understanding what these triggers are and moving forward in a more positive winning mindset. There you go. Uncertainty has always been one for me. Hopping on the drama escalator as a way to manage this mindfulness, 10 minutes of meditation. That's great. Thank you very much for that. The uncertainty is one. And even if you don't have, as Eric has put in there, 10 minutes to meditate, remember even the power of a mantra. That mantra, saying a mantra out loud can replicate for many people the positive brain change that they need, as to replicate even 5 minutes of mindfulness. So think about that as well. If you don't have the 10 minutes, but if you have it, plug yourself into that for sure. Dealing with respect and disrespect in office politics. Yes, it is. Office politics are significant. Most even before COVID, there was a huge problem with employee engagement, and I think that office politics contributes to that in a big way. I think many companies have what I refer to as a toxic culture. I don't think that uh, leaders spend enough time understanding how they need to embrace a positive culture, a culture of respect, a culture of accountability, a culture of empathy, really understanding that leaning in and investing in their employee productivity and their employee wellness is important enough. Dealing with the politics and disrespect is difficult, but I think you got to start with yourself and the small circle of people around you. And just like a pond, it'll just start growing and growing. And at least if you start managing your own emotions, then that's a good place to start. Not recognizing feelings for what they are and blowing situation out of proportion. Yeah, that's a great one. That's recognize the situation for what it is. A lot of, like I say, on the disrespect train, you could feel like, you got disrespected for a significant thing or a less significant thing. Don't blow it out of proportion. It's not the end of the world. Okay. But our brains tend to go into emotional survival protective mode, and recognize it when that's happening to yourself. Any other last questions? I'll stick around for a few more minutes. If anybody has any last questions or last thoughts or comments, please put them in. And I appreciate any comments or feedback you have. Thank you for attending this session. I will wrap this up by saying hello, Friday. Goodbye, triggers. Hello, rewards. We are ready for what's next. Have an awesome weekend, everyone. Take care.